And here to talk more about the promise and peril of genetically altered plants is Dr. Dirk Hincha. Now, manipulating plants seems to offer quite a few possibilities. Which one is the most attractive to you?
Well, I think it actually offers a lot of perspectives and definitely the possibility to change agricultural plants to make them more adapted to environmental conditions such as drought or freezing is definitely a good way ahead.
How come it's so complicated to transfer an ability like you just said from Arabidopsis, the model plant, to something like cotton?
Well, the transfer itself is not really complicated. That's standard technology that many people can do. The interesting part really comes after that, and that is the question, how does the gene integrate into the metabolism of the new plant, and how does that influence, for example, growth, yield, and the performance in the field under these complex conditions?
What can actually happen? Do you have an example?
Well, I mean, one of the classical examples is plants that become more freezing tolerant, but also become very dwarfish and stunted, and then of course they are not really useful in an agricultural setting.
That's not really what farmers want.
Exactly.
Now, green genetic engineering is often seen as a silver bullet against the hunger in the world. Can you really fill stomachs with genetic engineering?
Well, in a way, yes, because if you can generate plants that are more stress tolerant, that have higher yields with using less water, that would, of course, be extremely helpful. Of course, that doesn't mean that that by itself will solve the problem. There are social problems, there are educational problems, there are many other problems that have to be tackled at the same time in order to make this work for the people who really need it.
And if you compare these different parts, let's say about 500 million small farmers in this world probably are lacking fertilizer, they're lacking education. I mean, couldn't you increase productivity a lot more by helping them?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, there are programs that aim at exactly that. So there's a program from the Bill Gates Foundation that is actually putting multi-million dollars into exactly such a program where you have an integrated approach of educating farmers, of getting better land practices, and at the same time putting money into research on more stress-adapted plants.
On our research trip through India, we actually spoke to many farmers, and they came up with the fear that they might get dependent on the big seed companies because they suddenly have to buy the seed from them. How do you see that development?
Well, I mean, the elite cultivars that are used that really have high yields are, of course, all delivered by seed companies, whether they are transgenic or not. So I think the transgenic in itself doesn't really make that big of a difference there. What we need is just varieties that have extremely high yields, because otherwise, with the shrinking area of land we have for agriculture, we will not be able to feed the exploding population.
Thanks a lot for the talk, Dr. Dirk Hincha.